First of all, I would like to ask Tamara Bálint, Sustainability Program Manager. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And Csaba, who is a Senior Manager in EY and Climate Change and Sustainability Services Manager. Thank you, Csaba, for accepting our invitation. We have a couple of very important questions that we should discuss together. The first question I would raise to you, and I leave it up to you in which order would you like to align to the question, that what we see now at the moment, that many organizations still see ESG as a compliance exercise rather than a business driver. In your experience, what are the key factors that help companies shift to that only from the regulatory compliance to the true ESG strategy?
Tamara, you start or I start?
I can start. Yeah, just a quick summary about the background that I'm coming from, transportation industry. So maybe my point of view, or knowing my point of view, could be a bit understand a bit better. From my opinion, one of the key factors in shifting from compliance to strategy is leadership buy-in. That executives need to understand that sustainability can drive efficiency, cost savings, and competitive advantage. For example, that in sustainability reporting process, we should go beyond regulatory minimums and focusing on strategic ESG initiatives like the Scope 3 emission and working closely with our suppliers. And another critical factor is to embed ESG into decision making, such as integrating sustainability criteria in our capital expenditure planning, product development, instead of just reporting on the CSRD requirements or the other regional requirements that you are located in. So we should align our sustainability strategy with the business growth by identifying opportunities in green innovation, such as design a more energy efficient products or services. What do you think about, Csaba?
I think that leadership is critical, and I would add one more component. And this component is that if the product or the service that the company provides has a sustainability value. And let me give you some example. If you have a look at who are the companies which are really successful and leader in sustainability, like Patagonia, the clothing company, is definitely a leadership example. But if you go further, like IKEA, the Swedish furniture company, they put circularity and recyclability into the focus. I don't like to say that Tesla put clean energy into the focus, but Tesla made the enormous development, branding themselves as the clean energy company providing a green transportation, or Adidas, where the sustainable fashion. Or you can have companies like Unilever, where Paul Polman, the CEO, was putting sustainability in the core into the products. So actually the product was advertised and branded. If you just picture the Dove lotion or cosmetics advertisement in the television, how they demonstrate the products. So actually, they brought sustainability into the product value. And if you complement the product value somehow mixed with sustainability and complement it with leadership, this is really the success factor. This is what I see. Because if it's simply leadership, then leadership changes in every 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then people come and go. But when you have this composition of that either the product or the services has direct link to sustainability, complemented with a good leader, this is the recipe. This is the recipe for success.
I fully agree with you. Therefore, I was talking also myself about the culture, because the culture is about the values and the behaviors. And I had the opportunity to, as a former Unilever employee, to experience from inside out how does it mean and how much it means when it is everything is embedded on that level. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, my next question, it would be that you both have an enormous experience across different sectors and regions. What do you think that how the ESG priorities and challenges differ across sectors or regions? There can be seen any difference between different regions among it, and how the companies can learn from each other and benefit from each other experience. What do you think about that?
If you don't mind, I start the answering that, and I would start with the sector first, not with the regions. If you look back how ESG and sustainability became part of the business, it became part of the business through the scandals. So if you turn back the time and you look at that, what were those experiences when the businesses learned the value of mistreating environment, mistreating social or mistreating governance issues, and what they led to. For example, you see British BP, British Petroleum, with the Deepwater Horizon, when when the oil rig was exploded and polluted the Mexican Gulf. Or you see the governance issue like either the Enron case or the Volkswagen, the clean diesel scandal. Or you see a social case when the fast fashion companies in Pakistan, the textile factory collapsed and close to 1,000 people were injured and died. When you see these things, the companies started to understand that what is at stake. And if you look at what is at stake, for example, BP or Volkswagen lost the share value and the capitalization 50% in weeks. Billions of dollars disappeared. And I made an analysis of how much time you need to get back from a scandal to where you were before the scandal. You will not believe it, 7 years. So when something goes wrong, you need 7 years to rebuild your business. So actually, what I see is that sustainability started with a risk management approach, a risk mitigation program. What can go wrong? It was not meant to build sustainability. It was meant to build business continuity, and it was meant to secure the business. But actually, these things like what were resonating with the public, the shareholders, the civil society, the regulators and everything, of course, the bad news is. So actually, this is what was generating that kind of systematic approach that, okay, let's control what exposures we have on the environment. Let's control on what exposure we have on the social issues or on the governance. And this gives you the answer that what is the difference between the sectors. Those sectors are very successful with sustainability or ESG, where the risk is obvious. So if you see that how the high exposure industries treat their safety and the safety of their employees and the process safety, it's excellent. If you go to see Shell or those things, how those industries where the exposure is high for human rights issues and abuses and everything, where the exposure is high, it's excellent. And this is exactly what I see, is that those sectors where the risk is obvious to the public and the risk is obvious to the management, it's inevitable to support sustainability issues. And my experience is that when you go to sectors where the risk is not obvious, like a shared service center, so advising a shared service center on sustainability issues is difficult because it's really far. So actually, it's not part of the everyday experience. So actually, this is how I would rate that obvious risk, obvious exposures, good progress, where the risk and the exposure is fluffy and foggy. This is where it's difficult to make a progress. in the geographies, what I see the difference is that, of course, those geographies where you have much more mature society and higher level of regulatory frameworks, of course, the regions, of course, they are the ones who are leading. And this is why global companies have that kind of approach that wherever we operate, we have the minimum standards globally, and we don't care if the local standards are different or not. And it's really understandable. So I don't want to quote the Maslow pyramid, but actually really those who fight for their everyday living, it's difficult to, if you have to think how to survive today, you will not think how to survive in the next century. So the economic development, the regulatory framework and everything. But I think that the sector and the industry differences are really, which are really making the difference.
I fully agree with that. Just adding one point to this, that the differences, what I see, the differences between the regional, let's say, partiality between the ESG is also linked to that regional societal issues. So, for example, that in Asia or Latin America, the societal goals and the community-related aspects are in a higher priority for big multinationals than maybe occupying with the most obvious environmental or governance aspects of sustainability. So, and also like it's linked again to the exposure of the risks and the obviousness of the risk, and within also organizations where are several manufacturing sites all around the world, we see these obvious differences that our local people, where they put the emphasis, what should we put the focus on, and should have higher priority.
Mm-hmm.
I can fully align to that as an organizational developer. Also, we say that for real change, 90%, more than 90% of the organization, they change because of a catastrophe or because they want to avoid the risk. And only less than 10% of the organization, they are going to change because they are very conscious, because they are really proactive, and they are really ahead of the game. And that's just in line what you also mentioned, Tamara and Csaba also, but where do you see what sectoral differences there are? The higher the risk, the more consciousness and the more precautious they are going to make the organization. But let's see that we tackle the questions whether it's about risk. But do you see any good examples where that like ESG create an opportunity and therefore the business grows and innovation raised because of ESG? Can we share some examples about that?
I would go back to my opening part where I was quoting Patagonia or IKEA or Danone or Unilever or these companies. So actually these companies build their business strategy around some kind of sustainability goal. And honestly, I don't really understand, and I don't really believe when people talk about safety culture or sustainability culture or all these things. These things doesn't exist. A company culture exists, and if safety is part of it, it's part of it. If sustainability part of it, it's part of it. So there are no competing company cultures. At least this is what my experience is. So really, when you find something, and this can really generate a good growth, when you find something which is sustainability related, circularity, IKEA, clean energy, Tesla, innovation, Apple, nutritional value, Danone. So like all these, when the product and sustainability somehow come together and build, the product flow is built on some kind of sustainability feature. This is where the business can really make step change in business growth as well.
Before Tamara, I let you to go. Just one question and one comment, probably for both of you. That you mentioned, Csaba, quite a couple of companies, but still only a couple of companies, which may name it.
Yeah.
Why, if they see that at worth of Unilever, IKEA, Patagonia, and all kind of companies, can be quite a good example. Why the others, they are not following that? Because they can see this. And still, this is not a so enormously huge scale-upping in this area. What do you think? What's stopping the companies, or what should be the enablers to really go and look into these best practices, them also to follow?
Can I? Okay, so I don't want to make an advertisement to a book, which was written by Simon Sinek, and the title of the book is Infinite Game.
Oh, I know that game. It is one of my favorites. Yeah.
And actually, this is it. This is the answer. If you read that book, then actually the decision makers at the global companies where the big impact is that they are who somehow recognized and their bonus system and everything is dependent on the next quarter or maximum a year. So actually, this is what ruining the other companies.
Wow.
So this mindset that they don't think 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. So they don't build the future. They build for tomorrow. And the tomorrow, I mean really tomorrow, not tomorrow in tomorrow. So actually the infinite game, and this is what this guy, I mean, if you have chance and you are very bored, I recommend this book to you because it really tells the different dynamics in those companies which are built for long term and where the management is committed for long term and the company is committed to the management long term. And that kind of career driven guys who are jumping from one company to the other in every 2, 3, 4 years and want to make a big impact and then move on and big impact and move on because they're short-sighted. They want to do tomorrow. And I tell you one example. When I told you that I was in Switzerland for 10 years, one of the head of sustainability for one of the S&P 500 company. And the rule of that company was that the return on investment, the threshold was 4 years. Whichever was below 4 years, the company financed, whatever beyond 4 years, cut off. And I asked the company, the affiliates that send me the initiatives, what you want to do. You really make a step change in sustainability. So I collected all the projects, whether it was social, whether it was energy efficiency, whether it was solar panels, renewables, whatever. The average return on investment was between 10 to 12 years. So we live in a company environment where the return on investment mindset is this 3-4 years. And this kind of initiatives cannot deliver short-term return. This is why the regulators and the public sector and everybody is putting concept like the carbon price, like the water price, like providing value to sustainability benefits, providing financial benefit to financial value to sustainable benefits. This is to bring down this 10, 12 years below the 4-year threshold to make it digestible. But actually, why the other companies don't make progress is the short-sighted view, the next quarter, the next dividend, the OCI, the income expectation. And actually, these two things cannot compete. The 10 years return on investment with the next quarter dividend mindset.
Thank you. Tamara?
Just as a first side note, I fully agree with that so far, but I saw on my journey that this 4 years of return on investment very stand for most of the companies. And honestly, it's a bit sad to be short-sighted like that.
Yeah.
Because while we are thinking like that, the aspiration of net zero before 2050 will like never happen. But answering your first question, I mean, your previous question, Melinda, that can I give an example for growth opportunity? We at Hiva, we focus on, a couple of years ago, we started to focus on electrification products, which basically makes our product not just energy efficient, but also at the same time with the design lighter, that also cause energy efficiency, and it seems to be not just for like adding value while for the customer that they are cutting the costs, but also they can save carbon footprint at the same time. So basically this new product, or like it's not new at all, but like a couple of years ago was new, that it definitely was a good example that we grasped an opportunity that we were the first to do that in the industry.
Oh, good. So, thank you. That if I understand right, that your idea is also about that to break down this kind of return on investments on a short-term term, make this kind of measurements. I also, as a change manager, sometimes and organizational development experience, that most of the things that is about key RIs, key results indicators. The key results indicators is only about whether we achieved or not, especially on financial indicators. And the progress indicators are not necessarily in place. That where I am, what are the things which I'm supposed to do better, and these kind of things, if they are embedded, then probably they are embedded on the leadership decision making, and infinite goals and infinite KPIs. This is part of the leadership, that the chances are getting bigger and bigger that the company is starting to act accordingly. This is what I hear about you. Anything else? What kind of best practice you might give? How to be incorporated this kind of mindset and make sure that is really embedded in the company culture? If not, then I turn to the next question. And after the next question, I will jump also to look what kind of questions arrive from the people. Then we can combine. The question I would have before we go to the other questions: what are the most effective ways, do you think, to measure the progress of ESG? How can they see that they are really going on the right direction? Can we have any metrics which are really helping us to see that, for instance, yes, we are on the right track, we are doing the right thing, and therefore we can energize and building the trust on the company that, yes, we are aligned to ESG standards?
Tamara, you start.
Can I start?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that the first and foremost thing is to identify the right topics for the companies to put the focus in their sustainability strategy, because within this topic, there's the saying of one size fits all definitely does not stand. So not just within the industry, but also it needs to be adjusted to the organizational structure, the risk exposure and the impact. So that's why the DMA is a good tool to do that, if the DMA is executed properly. Just to add on that, because it can be misleading if it's not done right. So first, identifying the topics, then linking the KPIs to the topics. Of course, the regulation or the European regulations give guidance, but only if we do a proper assessment within internally in the company, we can adjust those KPIs to our organization, what fits the best. And then, of course, the continuous follow-up on those KPIs, and not just the quantitative KPIs, but also the qualitative, how the progress is going on, would be crucial, I think.
Okay.
My side on, if you look back, when you remember to the CSR, not CSRD, but CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility times, it's still going on, but in that period, the companies were mainly focusing on getting good acceptance from the local community. And this is why big corporations were doing programs like painting the fence of the kindergarten and providing whatever, an instrument to the local hospital. If it was a big soda manufacturer, you don't expect them to paint the fence of the kindergarten. You expect them to talk about the plastic and the sugar content and the obesity and all these things. So this is what Tamara was highlighting, that the double materiality tells you what is important. You link the measurements, and you know that actually KPIs, everything, the value of everything or the worth, everything is what you make of it. So what gets measured, gets done. And we know this good old English saying, so actually this is it. So if it's measured, it will be done. If it's part of the incentive schemes of the organization, the leaders, the mid-level leaders, and the people broken down to individual objectives and gets measured and get premised, link the financial compensation to that. And you fake it till you make it. This is another good old English saying.
Okay.
Because what you have, it's clear from this discussion, but it's clear from everyday discussion that only a small portion of companies are really driven by sustainability. Only a small portion of companies who are where the product or the service directly linked to sustainability value. So what you do with the rest? You force them. This is what you do. You force them with regulation, with regulatory frameworks, with carbon quotas, with many financial or regulatory measures. And then they get used to it. You fake it till you make it. So actually, along the journey, if you have to do the sustainability report, sooner or later there will be internal competence, sooner or later there will be an everyday practice, sooner or later it will be part of life. So actually, this is how you do it. So those companies where they can generate value from it, they do it by themselves. Those which don't generate value, they have to learn how to live with it.
Okay. Tamara?
Well said. I fully agree with it.
Okay, then the next question is just around the regulation that the Omnibus proposal set to be announced now, and the aim is to simplify the CRD reporting requirements. Do you agree with this proposal? How do you think this simplification will impact the corporate ESG reporting? Do we see what is the reason why it is reduced to the previous requirements? What is your thoughts about that?
Oh my God, this is a difficult question. If you are on the company side and you see the 1,200 data points in the ESRS standards, you are shocked. And you are rightfully shocked. So I think that the EU was too ambitious with originally drawing the line at 250 employees. So it was putting such a big number of companies into the scrutiny of the reporting, because just understand the complexity of really going through a double materiality assessment, scaling down the 1,200 data point to your relevant 200, 300, 400 something. So what you do? You need competence, knowledge, understanding. A company with 250 people cannot afford an expert on sustainability. So if you ask me that, is there any understanding behind this, yes. But the issue is that once you know that somebody said that don't listen to what I say, listen to what I do. And what the EU is doing is that dropping sustainability because of the economic difficulties and everything. So the damage is done. So if you ask me that, is there any rationale behind? The answer is yes. Because we have to accept that small companies cannot have the competence, the knowledge, and the in-house processes to maintain sustainability reporting, collect hundreds of data points, maintain processes and everything. So these are too small organizations. But on the other hand, the damage is done. And if in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, the EU will start to say that sustainability is important, good luck. Good luck to that organization, that what the business community will think about it. If it was a little bit hot and dropped it in the first occasion. So this is how I see it, that yes, there is a good rationale behind the consolidation of the reporting requirements. But at the same time, it's a pity that the business community go through this emotional journey because it's alienate the topic and the ambitions. So this is how I see it.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, honestly, but I see the reason behind it, not just from SME point of view, but also if we take a look on the big companies who are, or the stock listed ones that who has to be reported, release their reports according the CSRD and the ESRS this year already, we also see that most of them could not hack it. So even though that if a big company has difficulty to handle this kind of execution, that of course, what could a small or mid-sized company could do? And besides, personally, I think it's a really sad decision for the future. I mean, for the next generations, because it will definitely take back and will have a yet unforeseeable big effect on the environment. How can we even manage to keep the global warming below 2.5? No, if the companies, even the big companies, which are not stock listed, will release the whole sustainability topic importance for the next couple of years, it will have a higher effect or a longer effect than just for the next 2 years. So I think it's a bit sad. And also what Csaba said, that in previously sustainability got a huge importance in the EU, and the whole region was pioneer with releasing all kinds of regulations which were not fully aligned together, like completing each other, but like not fully aligned. And now we are saying when we started to make companies accountable, that okay, stop, you get some release, you get some period off. It just like makes it a bit controversial and questions the topic's importance. But the only hope that I have, and I try to cling on it, that for those companies who are already pioneer and the sustainability is embedded and they are leading it, like IKEA or Volvo or Unilever, that the market will provide the demand for that, and just help basically a bit, or just make this EU's, I would say, a bit fault to get over it and not to have to slower the damage.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
I currently personally manage now 8 CSRD related CSRD report writing projects. Out of these 8 partner, 7 is below 1,000. Out of the 7, guess how many told me to stop the process? 1. So 6 continues regardless of the regulatory release. And I was asking them that, we had a discussion because you cannot avoid this discussion with the partner because they hear it and then it's just not fair if they don't hear from you and not hearing from you what you propose. And actually, they all told me that their financing depends on it. The bank loans depends on it.
Yeah.
Customers expects from it. Those companies who are their buyers are way above this 1,000 threshold. And they are in the scope of their supply chain, in their scope 3, in their business streams, in their value chain. So actually, it was very interesting to see that the companies did not drop it. The only discussion was that, okay, if this will be the case, that the pressure will be moving away, we have 2 more years and everything, you know that in order to be ready with the report in 26 on 25, from January 25, you have to collect the data to be able to report in 26. So you had to make the double materiality assessment by the end of 24. So the companies who are in this reporting scope are quite advanced. They already went through the double materiality. They already went through the data point filtering. They already built up the report structure. They are making the mock-up report, the test report. So they are in the process. So what's happening is that the only thing was that, okay, if we don't have to do this kind of scrutiny, can we do a CSRD light, which maintains the mindset, the ambition, the momentum, but remove the, let's call that kind of data points which were a little bit of over the board.
Mm.
So this is my experience, that I'm not really afraid that it's suddenly everybody just let it go. Really, my personal experience is that out of my 8 clients, but if I would refer it to EY in Hungary, actually this is the biggest sustainability consulting. So actually we work with the bigger players in the market. So they are above 1,000. But in my specific case, I have a lot of manufacturing. I like to work with companies who have technology, something physical sites, and it comes from my background, from everything. But I like to work, and those companies are really in this range of 250 to 1,000, many of them, and I did not see that kind of dropping the topic and letting it go.
That gives a big hope.
Yes.
That it's really not so sudden drop that everybody
No.
says, okay, now I'm waiting, I don't do anything. And now the next question is coming from the chat, that what are the extra benefits from ESG if we have to do it anyhow, Lou, and climate change, pressure felt on our own skin, how we can do it well, getting extra benefits out of it, benefits what there are also employees and investors are acknowledging.
Who starts?
You can start.
Okay. The very first benefit is maybe it will be pathetic, but you will become a better company. And as long as so people are moving into the direction that they are looking for a kind of purpose, and they look in their job meaning. So I think that this is one of the benefits that a company with sustainability mindset or ESG progress, the employee turnover is much lower. The employee engagement, loyalty, commitment to the company is absolutely different. So this is one which is a kind of internal. The second thing is that with good EHS performance, when you go to for a bank loan, you get preferential rates. This is a direct benefit. The third is if you are a supplier of companies, the procurement process beyond quality, price, and time, there is another element which is the ESG rating. So actually, it can depend on your preferred supplier status. It can depend on the capacity which is allocated on your product line or on your service. It's a company reputation. If you look at the fair trade cafes, it's full. People are willing to pay the extra for that kind of services and products where you can associate the product or the service with some kind. But if you are in the real estate business, if you are in the banking, so actually business is looking for WELL and BREEAM certified buildings. They're looking for EcoVadis, silver and gold rated suppliers. Bank loans or the banks, the financial institutions are looking for reliable companies. How they measure reliability, risk management, how you manage your risk, you manage your exposures. You see that the big financial, BlackRock, Norwegian pension fund, they divest from their portfolio the low ESG performing companies. So they divest. There will be liquidity issues, there will be financing issues, there will be all of this. So it's complex, and it's not really like a kind of direct everyday link. So it's much more mid or longer term impact on the company. But I see the internal, the employee commitment, the purpose of the company, the access to finances, the public opinion, the reputation, and everything. So decide if these things matter for you. If these things matter for you, then ESG is a good investment. If these things don't matter for you, then it's not.
Well said. I think just one thing that on a short term, also getting a tender. In many of the countries, we see that ESG rating is part of winning a tender as well. So it can be also an extra benefit.
Very well said. Then I think so far the last question on the chat. Please feel free to write your questions still, because we can come and answer it together. Where are the companies regarding ESG mindset at the moment in Hungary? What are the biggest challenges about changing the mindset? And where does Hungary stand compared to other European countries?
Maybe Csaba, you see that one better.
I live in Hungary, so let me answer to that one. I think that Hungary doesn't have, so there is no one answer to that. There are different words in this small country, and one word is the big international companies. That is one. The second is the big Hungarian local companies, and the third is the SMEs in Hungary. And the three word is three different cultures, three different directions. The big international companies, affiliates in Hungary, actually they are part of a global scheme, and for the Hungarian affiliate of Procter & Gamble is decided in Cincinnati. The Hungarian sustainability approach of GE Medical is decided in the US, and Robert Bosch is decided in Germany, and all those. So actually, I think that these companies go with the flow and go with their international parent company mindset. If the parent company is sustainability conscious, or they are on a stock exchange, and this is again a very big difference between public interest companies or not. Because public interest companies cannot afford not to deal with sustainability, or they pay the price very soon, very quickly. Non-publicly listed big international organizations have much more freedom, let's put it this way, because they are not so much at the exposure of the public reputation. But I think that this is one cultural group. The second big cultural group is the big Hungarian companies. I think they are in transition between the past and the future. So they're bringing the weight of the past, and I think that it's difficult to manage that transition without this international corporation mindset and everything. The small companies in Hungary are surviving, and when you're in a survival mode, you don't put sustainability on your top list. So this is how I see it.
You, Csaba? Tamara, what would you like to add?
Yeah, well, honestly, I cannot add anything more. As I'm living in the Netherlands, our company also have a Hungarian daughter, but as this would have belonged within Csaba's categorization is the big international firm. So yeah, we set the goals, we set the targets, and we grab all the daughters to do the same. So I believe that can be right.
And how do you see the Dutch companies that if you live in the Netherlands compared to European countries?
Well, honestly, what I see that even if in the Netherlands, it's a bit more embedded in the society to take sustainability as a factor of a decision making. Even though when you're just like doing your simple grocery shopping, the people are less price sensitive in that sense, and it also goes for the small mid-sized companies because the sustainability, I believe it also comes from the environment and society issue that Netherlands is on a lower land. The water level rising is a big problem. So that I believe derives from that it's already in the culture to do something about it and against it basically. And for example, what I see that the S rating is a part of the tenders. Like if you do not have a really good S rating to apply for a tender, it's just not possible. So not just on consumer level, but also on governmental level, how to set the rules, how to set shape the environment, the sustainability is part of it. So maybe it is a bit further than Hungary, but as I see that lately Hungary also keeping up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Then I'm looking to the audience now at the moment, and the question is, do you have any final last question which you might want to take in on board to ask Csaba or Tamara or any other person in the group before we wrap up this session? That you don't go home and you feel like in the night that, oh, I should ask this question and I didn't done. Take your opportunities. If no more questions, then I would like to ask Csaba and Tamara that like somehow some wrap up, some like final thoughts, some advice for the audience. I see one question here. I want to ask, sorry. I have to look. To ask about whitewashing the companies are doing in terms of ESG. Any comments on this?
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey.
Yeah, my name is Yoginder, and it was nice hearing all of you and getting a lot of the insightful information. But I heard I've come across in the filing where there are a lot of the companies who are claiming that they are following and all the ESG guidelines on the paper, but in actual term it's nowhere. Like they are saying that they are for the offsetting, they are installing some trees, or they are doing some carbon credit, buying some carbon credit from the companies who are based in Indonesia or in other countries. And when they show in their reporting, it shows that okay, they are following the ESG parameters, but when you go into the further depth, there is not actually anything that they have done it. So I just wanted your views on that. Like, even though there are like guidelines and the companies are following ESG regulations, but when it comes to the actual, like, in-depth understanding of those followings, they are not doing it. So even though if the companies are moving towards the ESG and the companies are, following all the regulations under European Union, but when it comes to actual in-ground work, it's not visible, and it's more kind of on the paper rather than it's actually visibly.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Would everybody comment on it?
This is exactly why the disclosure and the transparency was forced on the players to make it transparent and visible, that if somebody is doing administrative solution to real problems, to make it visible and transparent. But this is you are right, it's very complex. And then whenever you do a transition plan, or when you do a decarbonization, and when you do the waterfall, that a credible analyst do not accept decarbonization with carbon credits. So first you do process optimization, then you do the mix of the energy, then you do the investments, then you do all that. And if you cannot bridge it to zero, then you can close the last bit, the gap with the administrative solutions. So this is, that yes, the companies try to solve in an administrative way, but the more transparency you give to these kind of solutions, the more they will be in the shop window, and everybody will see what they do. So this is why this whole disclosure and CSRD and everything was imposed on the industry players.
Okay. Thank you, Csaba. Tamara, would you like to any comment to this?
Just maybe one thing, that this is why one of the main part of the guidelines to enhance the transparency, and that would be the whole aim of this package, is a serial of packages of sustainability reporting guidelines.
And this is why they put to the CSRD report an auditing process, and this is why they made so the good intention is there, and I think that if it will be consequently applied throughout the time, it will go. And it will develop. Yes.
Thank you very much. Then the final thoughts, if any, from your side, it's not necessary, but if you would like to share something like a good advice or final thoughts to the audience here and online, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to close and wrap up the session.
Nothing from my side. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and it was a good experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Csaba, for sharing your ideas, very good thoughts, and your broad experience and perspective. Thank you very much. Tamara?
I also like to thank the opportunity, but maybe as for a closing comment, that besides this possibility of the omnibus being approved and being in place. Let's hope that it won't have too big thought on the whole environmental goal delivery, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Tamara, also sharing your experience and also being Hungarian, but also sharing the Dutch perspective. I think it was very, very valuable. We had quite an international overview about this question. And what I learned about this session myself before we say goodbye to each other, that first of all, the ideas of infinite game and infinite goals is very important to keep in mind. And if you really want to have a through sustainability in a company culture, then we should embed it in the purpose and the values of the organization. Make sure that we are doing the right products which are already sustainable and they are looking really, really forward that these products are really getting more and more in the market, and there are a lot of communication. And what I would advise for everyone, please share these good examples of the companies who are doing this already down, not only for the regulation, but because they are doing with their own heart and they are really building our future in sustainability. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for the collaboration with Pfizer Consulting and Ingenium and our Borealis group, that we could make this webinar happen. This is just the beginning. We are going to continue and come in also in ESG with other webinars and also with other trainings, and also to keep up this, and don't let that even the regulation is changing on Omnibus. The good start, the change which is already started, it is going to go forward, and more companies, organizations and individuals are going to think, act and feel deeply about ESG. Thank you very much. And we start to doing this by ourselves. And if you can do one act already now, today and tomorrow, what is in line in ESG, we have an impact to the world. Thank you again very much. See you soon, and all the best for everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.